Ever since I can remember, my father collected classic cars, more Mercedes cars, and one day he came home with a black Pontiac Trans Am. It's like the Smokey and the Bandit replica. I fell in love with the car, and that's where I got a passion for V8 cars, American muscle cars. Until I read an article one day about South African developed muscle cars, and I really didn't know what that was. And so I asked my father, and he told me about the Piranha and the Can-Am and the XR-8, and I just couldn't believe it. I saw some at the car shows, and I really didn't even know what it is. And ever since that day, I had a real passion for especially South African muscle cars. My name is Fani de Prier, and I drive a 1984 Ford Sierra XR-8. Ford Motorsport, or Ford, in the early 80s, needed to produce a car that was competition for the 745 BMW and the Alfa GTV6 3-liter. And so they built a prototype of the XR-8, tested it, and they were happy. And one of the requirements in Group 1 racing at the stage was that you had to use a production car. And the minimum requirement for production car is 200 cars being sold to the public. So Ford got the prototype, they built a race car, and they built 250 of these cars and sold them off to the public, and it was a huge success. And Mr. Willie Hepburn, that was driving the Animal race car at the time, was very successful, and he gave the 745 a really good run for its money. The car is fitted with a 302 5-liter Mustang V8 with a T5 Borg-Warner gearbox as well as a Borg-Warner differential. And they actually replaced the original side shafts with bigger side shafts, and they upgraded the drive shaft to be able to accommodate the torque of the engine. And they also upgraded the suspension, adding harder coil springs all around the car, and ventilated disc brakes with 4-port calipers at the front suspension. So getting into the car and starting it up, you immediately get a thrill. It's like a comfortable car with this massive V8, and it idling and shaking the whole body of the car. It's just awesome. Putting in first gear, starting to drive it, it really gives you a thrill. And it looks like Ford we're all about power and not that much of handling, because going through turns or corners with this car you don't really want to do it. But getting to a straight and just going through the gears and feeling the low down torque and the power of the engine, you can't describe it to anybody. They have to feel it for themselves. Accelerating, let me tell it like this, driving on the highway, passing a truck or a slower car, you don't even have to shift down to fourth. You just plant the accelerator and the car pushes you back into the seat, and you go past traffic like it's nothing. So this car has still the original color, never been spray painted, no body work done to the car, still the original engine. What's special about this car is well, the cars that were produced have a special number from 1 to 250, because there were only 250 of these cars built. And this car is number 9. So it was one of the first XR8s that were sold to the public. So it could have been a demo model at Ford. We don't know the exact history of the car, but it's special because it's got such a low number. The car has very low mileage. It's got 75,000 kilometers on the clock. I really try to keep it that low, but it's just a fun car to drive. And driving it around town, I do it like maybe every second weekend. And it's just fun. And you know, even though it's a classic car, and these days they're worth a lot of money, I really try and keep the car neat and don't drive it like a maniac. But I believe every now and then you can let the race car come out. It's built for racing, so. But I try to keep it neat and try not to break it. We saw the ad, and the next week, me and my father drove up to Cape Town. And when we got to the gentleman's workshop, the car was standing in the corner of his shop underneath the cover. And he took off the cover, and he was generous enough to give us the keys, and we could take it for a spin. And when we started the car up, we didn't see the exhaust at all. And then when we started it up, we realized why. Because the exhaust were like coming out of the front wheels, and when you started the car up, you couldn't even hear yourself think. And so we took it for a spin and didn't say anything about the exhaust. Well, the owner was happy at that time because he used the car on a Sunday and he went for a cruise in Chapman's Peak, so nothing wrong with that. And when we bought the car for a very reasonable price, and when we left the guy's workshop, the first thing we went to was an exhaust shop to get the exhaust fixed. The original plan was actually to buy, because it was such a reasonable price. We were thinking about selling the car again to make a little profit, and then we got into the car, got the exhaust fixed first, and drove it from Cape Town to Bloemfontein. And when me and my dad got out of the car, I instantly told him, we're not selling this car. And then he told me that was the first thing he was going to say to me. While we were on our way back with the car from Cape Town, there was it was actually funny. There was a guy with I presume he was a lawyer or something, driving a sporty Z3 BMW, and he was tailgating us really bad. And then when he wanted to come past us, my dad got his grin on his face, and he just geared it back to fourth, and the guy couldn't pass us. What I like about this car, when I take it out Sunday for a drive and I go through town and I stop at the robot, and this typical GTI and ST guys stopping next to me with their girlfriends and revving the car up and looking at me with a grin, and when the light is green, you can immediately see the disappointment in his face in the rearview mirror. Even special cars like this car or the Piranha or the Can-Am, the cars were built to be driven, and they have to be used. But if you take an XR-8 or any special car and you put it in your garage, and for 20 years, what's the use of having it? And I really like to drive around with the car and sharing it with everybody. And I believe everybody should know the history of this car, as it was produced in South Africa, and not everybody knows that. We'll never sell this car. Even if I have to sleep on the street, my XR-8 will be the next to me. I won't sell this car.
Did you know that we also sell really awesome car-themed merchandise? Check out our range of custom t-shirts and prints at our online store now. Simply click on the square box on your screen and we'll take you there, or the link is in the description below. Thanks for watching.